Star Wars and the Force, these things are interconnected. They're very important to each other. Now, in this video, I wanted to talk about the future of Star Wars and how the Force might be changed, including the lore, including how characters use or interact with the Force. This will center around Luke Skywalker, some Mortis stuff. I, of course, want to talk about Kylo Ren and Rey, the Reylo connection, and how that will all manifest in the future as well. So if you're watching this on the replay, what's up? Hit us up in the comment section. Let us know your thoughts. If you are watching this live, it's going to be super laid back. I sat down to try to figure out what to cover, and it was a very light week for Star Wars news, so there's not a ton of stuff to go over. I am, of course, going to address the whole thing with MakingStarWars.net. It's going to be very brief, and then we are going to get in to the Force. Gonna dig deep, talk some lore. So feel free to ask me any questions that you have. I'm excited to sit down and talk with you guys. Happy Star Wars Sunday. Bunch of people piling in right now. What is up? You guys are all amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let me know how the audio is, please, and let me know how the video is. Of course, I'm a little bit delayed. I was supposed to be up at 11. It's like 45 minutes. It's crazy. But I was having all sorts of difficulties with the audio, streaming, and different things like that. So I think I got it all figured out. So let me know. Make sure that the video looks good and that the audio sounds good. So just let me know in the chat, everybody, okay? Audio and vid are good, some people say. Awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. How's everybody doing on this Star Wars Sunday, by the way? Something about that emoji, Renee. I literally just almost waved at you. I don't know what's going on. It's a weird internet thing or something like that. I sound a little bit too robotish. Okay, let's cut the gain back a little bit. Cut that a little bit. That might be a little bit better, maybe. Cool. Yeah. So the last week, or it might have been 2 weeks ago, when I streamed, the video was bad. So I keep bouncing between different ways of doing this, right? So there's streaming you can do through the proprietary like YouTube stuff. There's streaming you can do through like a software like OBS. And yo, what's up, AT-AT? A bit echoey. Oh no, that's not good. All right, hopefully that helps out a little bit. Okay, cool. It's better now. Yeah, that gain can get a little crazy on the mics. You never know when it comes to these live streams. And yeah. So let's talk for a second here. This is gonna be very brief, but I do need to address the whole thing that happened with MakingStarWars.net. I don't know if you guys caught this at all. If you follow me on social media, I was talking about it on my Instagram a little bit. I talked about it on Facebook a little bit. Didn't talk about it on Twitter. I don't really use Twitter. I'll be honest with you. And then I'm gonna get into that in a second here because I think that something that happened with this whole situation, I think, is because I don't like Twitter. I really don't. I don't like it. So I'm trying to get over it. I want to be more active in the community. I want to, do all that. But God, Twitter just drives me absolutely insane. Wish the rain would go away. Yeah, it's raining here in Philly too. It's a rainy afternoon. Okay, so let me explain this. As I said, gonna be very brief. So I think it was Thursday or Friday, I went to do my usual research for the Nerdy News Rundown. The Nerdy News Rundown is the news show that I do 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, just talking about nerdy things. Like, what's the latest? What's the hottest thing? What are we going to talk about? And also, I should preface this. I'm not a journalist. Nobody at the Den of Nerds are journalists. Yeah, Lily. I live in Philly, yeah. We are not journalists. So one of the things that I'm trying to do with this channel and with this company is that we're just fans. Like, we are just fans that make content for other fans. Okay. So there's a distinction. I'm trying to make a distinction between what we do here and what journalists like Jason Ward at Making Star Wars do. So we're not journalists, right? But I still do a news show. It's kind of weird. But the way I think of it is it's more like fans talking about the news. Like, I'm talking about the news. I hope you play ball where Fresh Prince did. No, but I know some ballers that do. I know some ballers. Anyways, let me get through this. I'm so ADD, the chat distracts me. So I'm doing my usual research for the news show, and I stumbled upon an article written by Jason Ward at MakingStarWars.net. He name dropped the channel. In fact, he mentions and links the video to when James and I did an episode of Nerds Talk Star Wars, and we talked about Jason Ward in that video, and I was honored. I'll be completely honest with you. And Jason, if you're watching this, or if your friend is watching this that informed you last time, totally real here. It was an honor to be on your website. I go to your website. I've been going to your website for years. It was a crazy big deal for us at this little channel. Now, the article was not like in. It wasn't a good. How do I say this? He was trying to be sort of negative about us. Now, I think he handled us with kid gloves, which is fine. I'm not really sure why. Maybe it would have been better the other way. But he kind of talked about how the video and this channel and everybody that watches it is an example of the place in the fandom that does not understand why Mike Zero and everything that Mike Zero does is bad, right? And within the first paragraph, he like mentions the alt-right, referring to some of these people like Geeks and Gamers and Ethan Van Sciver and these people. And it sort of made a point to associate us with them, because I've been very forward about this with everybody. I want to sit down and talk to them. My sound is weird. It sounds like I'm a robot. That's no good. We don't want robot sound. Does that... no, that's probably worse, right? Here, I tell you what. Here's what we'll do. We'll try the gain up, and we'll pull back on that. Is that a little bit better? Let me know in the chat, guys. I don't know if there's anything else I can do to make it better. Honestly, with the weather here, apparently my internet is bad. It's giving me a lot of like triggers for bad video settings and stuff like that. No, not all the members of this channel live in the same area. Okay, look, let me just get through this. I gotta do this. Okay, so Jason puts up this article. It sort of associates us. I still sound like a robot. Jeez, I don't know if that's you or me. Might be that you are live monitoring it. I don't know what you're talking about. All right. I'm going to try to get through this. So anyways, it was, yeah. So Jason puts up this article. It was kind of in like a negative light a little bit, you know, talking about, the channel and everything like that. Look, I thought a lot about this, right? Because first of all, like I said, it was an honor to be on that website. It sort of put things in perspective. You know, you make all these videos on the internet, you know, you're trying to build this company, and my head is down. My nose is to the grindstone most days. I'm just thinking about the business. I'm thinking about a lot of things that we have planned for the future. And ultimately, I see this channel, I see this group of people, I see what's going on as like this huge, massive thing. Like, we're going to build this thing up to a massive level, and we're going to do it the right way. And in my opinion, like, the right way is not necessarily to be apolitical, but to not use politics as leverage for monetization. Now, Geeks and Gamers is completely guilty of this. And this is something I've been critical of Jeremy of. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but I literally had some of you guys go reach out to Jeremy and be like, yo, bro, like, you know, pump up one of my comments on his videos, because I wanted to sit down and talk to him, because I thought he was tearing the fandom apart by leveraging the hair-triggery political environment that we're in, right? But in my opinion, Jason is also guilty of this. Definitely not to the same degree as these people, but he's guilty of it. And so that was sort of like where I stood on this thing. And I'm like, well, what do I do? How do I address this? I decided I just wanted to say, like, Jason, if you're watching, or if your buddy's watching or whatever, it was an honor, sir, to be mentioned on your website. We're not going anywhere over here. We are going to do nothing but get bigger as an entity. And the thing is, man, I reached out to Jason several times on Twitter from the Den of Nerds account and from my personal account, and he is not responding at all. And I know he's seeing it. So he has just decided to not respond to us at all. And that's totally fine. Like, I'm not like saying like, oh, he's doing this. Oh, this motherfucker. You know what I mean? That's not what I'm saying. I'm just telling you facts, guys. This is facts. So we're not going anywhere. I appreciate the coverage that you gave us, and I would love to sit down and talk to you. Honestly, I still would. I think, if I'm being completely honest, and this is like the only hinted negative thing that I wanted to say, is that I think that in some ways Jason's probably afraid to sit down and talk to me on the show, because long form, like I've said to you guys many times, sort of exposes the truth. You can only dance around so much. Like, long form will expose the true feelings of not only what you're feeling, but like why. And so that's my thing, is like, I don't think, and maybe it's good because like Jason even admits in his article that he's no Jedi. He can get emotional and stuff like that. So if he's like super triggery and he doesn't want to come on the show because he's afraid that I'm gonna trigger him, that's cool. I respect that decision. You know what I mean? Like you gotta maybe stay in your lane, protect your brand, whatever. But I would just say like I'm not that guy. Like I'm not going to try to trigger you to make you look dumb on the internet. That's not my game. I'm trying to put the community back together. That is my ultimate goal. And that's what I've been trying. That's why I want to talk to everybody. So, Jason, if you want to sit down and talk to me, man, and even if you want to talk off the record and then get on the record, even though I'm not a journalist, so it's kind of like a weird, like, gray area that we live in over here. But if you wanted to do something like that, I'm totally open to it. So, that is all I wanted to say about that. If you're interested, go check out the article that Jason Ward put up on MakingStarWars.net. You can go check out the video that James and I did. I've watched it again because I wanted to make sure I wasn't too much of a douche on that video, and I don't think I was. So that is it. That is all I have to say about the situation with MakingStarWars.net. Hope to work with them again someday in the future. But yeah, that's where we're at with that. So let's get into the Force. Let's talk some Force. Now, what's funny is I don't even have a script for this. I don't even have a script because I was like waiting. I was desperately waiting for some Star Wars news to drop because I wanted to like dissect it and talk about it. And there's nothing, right? So I'm literally like, what am I going to talk about? Well, I decided I just want to talk about something that is on my mind. Guys, if you're curious about what I was talking about just now with the Jason Ward thing, save it for the second half of this stream, because I will answer all these questions. And if you're really curious about it, we can get into it. But for now, I just want to talk Force. So, something that I am kind of obsessed with, obviously beyond just the Force, is like the lore of the Force and how the current canon and different books and different things like that expand on the lore of the Force. And let me give you just a couple examples that come to mind for me. Like in the Tarkin novel, when Palpatine is meditating within the dark side of the Force, and he's talking about, you know, the things that he senses out in the unknown regions and different things like that. Like that stuff's fascinating to me. We've never really seen dark side training, and we've never really gotten a good idea of like where the people within the dark side, where the Sith or dark side users in general, how are they viewing the Force? What exactly is going on in their head, and what is happening with the relationship that they are having with the cosmic Force? Because a lot of what like the Force is and what Jedi and Sith are doing is it all has to do with where the living Force and the cosmic Force intersect, and the abilities to sort of like tap in and tap out of the Force. So yeah, so I'm fascinated by that. I think that that's a super cool thing, and I love how what's happening in Lucasfilm Star Wars and Disney Star Wars is that we're seeing that expanded on. So whether it be like the Sith holocron and the Jedi holocron meeting and creating this sort of cosmic thing where you can see all these different like things, past, future, present, the Bendu himself, you know what I mean? All of these things are introducing new ideas to the Force. And in The Last Jedi, there's an effort made to do this as well. But I believe, yes, I can definitely do that, Athea, and Thea. But just give me just a second. So, yeah, so in The Last Jedi, they make an effort to do this. Luke Skywalker, of course, even after he blows up the Death Star, is looking to understand the Force better, right? And we know this from the Star Wars comic books. Like during Vader Down, Luke is on that planet first, and he's on that planet to try to find this temple. He's being drawn there. He's trying to find this knowledge. He's trying to figure it out. And so we know that Luke is already looking for the Force. Now, a lot of people speculate that between Empire and Return of the Jedi, what happened to Luke was that he was sort of meditating in the Force. Now, Luke has a tremendous power boost, right? He becomes incredibly strong between those two movies and seemingly on his own. But it's not on his own, right? It's the Force, right? It's the same thing that happens when Rey in the Forest, Yo, what's up, Daniel? It's the same thing that happens in the forest with Rey when she closes her eyes and taps into the force. Which, by the way, like Kylo just stands there and lets her do it. I think Kylo's sort of mesmerized and fascinated by what's going on with Rey. But it's the same idea, dialed up to about 1,000. You know what I mean? The forest situation is totally different. Luke is able to become so strong within the force simply by like meditating, like opening himself up, having this two-way path, and then he basically is wiser, stronger, and better for it. And so what I'm really interested in is how the future Star Wars films are going to enlighten us about the nature of the force. Now, the thumbnail for this video has the father and it has Luke Skywalker. That is a very intentional thing. I believe there's a parallel between these two characters, and I believe that what was going on in the Mortis episodes, has a lot to do with what was going on in Rian Johnson's head when he was doing Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi and when he was thinking about the future of the Force. And that's not a guess. That is something Rian has come out and said. He said he was thinking a lot about the Mortis episodes and watching the Mortis episodes while he was writing and creating The Last Jedi. And so I love the stuff on Octu, and I love the Prime Jedi and that idea. And if you have not watched the Mortis episode, you certainly should. Those ideas come straight from George Lucas. Those are not Dave Filoni ideas. Those are George Lucas ideas that are brought into what's going on. Now, as far as what is going on Mortis, a lot of people believe that Mortis exists completely within the cosmic force. Now, we don't have a strict answer here, but it does kind of appear to be that way. The object that Mortis is on, that shape, that comes from the Dawn of the Jedi, an very old book from the expanded universe that dealt with the planet of Typhon and the moons of Typhon, the Ashla and the Bogan, which like referred to light and dark. And so this idea here that the light and the dark side are essentially two parts of the same thing is something that's sort of introduced in those old books, and it's something that George wanted to bring into canon, so to speak, through the Mortis episodes. And so what I'm curious about is like, what is going on with Luke? Because I think despite what happens in The Last Jedi, we can walk away from that film understanding that Luke is still the most powerful Jedi of all time. I mean, him to project himself across the galaxy and hold physical form and manifest physical objects that people can hold, and even hold beyond him being there. Luke bails. Kylo's got the dice, right? So Luke is the strongest that there ever was in the Force. I think that idea is sort of played with in The Last Jedi. And so what I'm curious about here is what we're going to get with Luke in episode 9. This all converges with the end of the Skywalker saga, the idea of Mortis, the idea of Luke Skywalker being the seed of the Skywalker line, being a very, very strong Skywalker. Anakin, during the Mortis episodes, when he was on Mortis, was said to replace the father. That was his destiny. That was the idea of balance. That's what he should have done. He rejects this idea. And so the question becomes, is this something that Luke will now do? Will Luke go on to be the father? Will he hold some kind of a place within the more cosmic force side of things? And what will that mean for the galaxy exactly? And so, these are ideas that I'm incredibly interested in. I want to know the expanse of the wills, which by the way, they said that George in this new saga was going to heavily focus on the wills. And the wills are this idea of almost force angels, kind of like they come from the cosmic force. They sort of intersect at the living force. They were originally, the whole Star Wars saga was going to be told from the Journal of the Wills. They were these omnipotent beings that were just witnessing everything that was happening in the galaxy, right? And I think what's going on is a mortal interpretation of a cosmic truth. I think that is essentially why there is so much conflict between the light and the dark, why they cannot seem to get along. And maybe they never will. Maybe they're not meant to, right? But I think the idea of balance and the idea of force and all of that needs to be explored further. And I think that Luke, even though he is gone, might hold a special place in that conversation. And so I'm excited to see that. I'm also very interested in like Rey and Kylo, not only because I ship Reylo and I really like the romantic connection, and I think that it's just it's high drama because they essentially are enemies, but they love each other, in my opinion, you know? And so I'm fascinated by that. But beyond that, I think the reason that I really, really like Reylo is because Rey and Kylo Ren also seem to be being propped up by the cosmic force. Like Kylo is this insanely powerful thing within the dark side. And I believe that if you think of it as like this bubble of power, it is all being funneled into Kylo Ren. He is insanely strong. The same thing goes for Rey. Rey is a conduit for the light side. When Luke pulled back, when Luke de-seed or disconnected from the Force, I believe the Force was in a weird state of flux. And with Rey and Kylo, it sort of decided to just have all of that power funnel into those two beings. And so in a lot of ways, Kylo and Rey are the representation of light and dark and the conduits through which those energies flow. And the thing that's very interesting is that their attraction to each other is natural and physical, but I think it's cosmic as well. I think it is cosmic. They are being pushed together because it is important for the end game of the Force. And I don't exactly know why, but I'm incredibly interested in that. Now, last thing I want to say about this before we open it up to questions, and please, like, feel free, hit me up with all kinds of questions. I'll probably go for an hour here. We've been going for like 20 minutes, so we're gonna have a lot of Q&A. Like I said, it's a light week with Star Wars news. But the last thing that I want to say here is that I think that Lucasfilm and Disney have been sort of hesitant to make any major changes to canon and to do any overhauling of the Force powers. And I can understand why, but they're doing it. It's like they're doing it. I hope that they're doing it with a plan. So there's different things that go on. Obviously, Ryan wanted to recontextualize the Force, and he claims to not want it to be like a superpower, but it ends up feeling kind of superpower-ish in his own movie. So that's kind of weird. But the fact that he introduces Broom Boy at the end, you know what I mean? Like just this other conduit for the Force is interesting. I don't know what he's trying to say there. There's this concept that because Rey is no one, that essentially Lucasfilm is trying to create this idea that anyone and everyone can use the Force. I've personally always felt like that. This is something Pablo Hidalgo clarified on Twitter. Like when Han Solo is piloting in a way that defies what normal pilots could do, or when Poe Dameron is doing something insane, he's tapping into the Force. I think the difference has to do with the midichlorians, the wills, and the cosmic Force. If you're like a child of the Force or someone that can be a Jedi or a Sith, you have a higher connection to the cosmic Force, and you have more midichlorians, which are the living Force within you. And so I hope that the future of Star Wars, because the future of Star Wars, as I've said, is very bright. But I think we need more clarification on like the Force itself. And that is why it is important to have a guy like Dave Filoni have more creative control at Lucasfilm. I'm not saying he has to replace Kathy, but he should be elevated because he understands the Force. He understands that. He's George Lucas's Padawan. And so I would really, really like for Dave to get a higher position and have more creative control, and for the Force itself to be explained a little bit more in canon as we move forward. Now, some of that's like you don't want to open the mystery box. The mystery is like good, but I think at the same time, a great way to solidify Disney Star Wars and to set up a very nice place for us to go in the future of storytelling is to recontextualize the Force. The Jedi under Yoda were corrupt, and they were at the very least misguided. Okay, Luke Skywalker admits this. That is the whole thing with The Last Jedi. Now, I really wish we spent more time on that and explain that a little bit more. Maybe it's on the cutting room floor. Maybe they believe that's just something that casual audiences wouldn't go for. But That's the one thing I really wish that was spelled out a little bit more, and I wish we understood more about the Sith and what's going on with the cosmic and the living force. So I think the future of the force is they're going to do that. They're going to explain that a bit better. We're going to recontextualize some of our ideas about the force, and we'll get more lore. And I think because Dan and Dave are probably going to do the Old Republic, we'll get even more answers, because back then I think the Force was more prevalent throughout the galaxy. More people worshipped the Force. There were way more Jedi, way more Sith. And I think that is the place where they could really lay some foundations that could be explored more in the future of Star Wars. So that's pretty much it. That's all I wanted to talk about when it comes to the Force. So much cool stuff, but I'm sure we'll get into this in a second. So please feel free to start dropping some questions, and I will answer them. And I want to talk about the Force a lot, although I will talk about anything you want to. Of course, I will answer every single super chat that comes in. So if you really, really want to make sure that your question is answered, hit me up with a super chat, and I will answer that question. Let me get a little coffee here before I get into this. Okay. Let's start with redundant ramblings. Could the Wills be former Jedi or Sith, or completely unrelated? When will they be canon in films? Is Luke the prime Jedi? Bro, that's 3 questions. You're getting a lot of bang for your buck. All right, so let's go through this. Could the Wills be former Jedi or Sith? Maybe. I could see a way where that would happen, but in my head, the only way that makes sense is if you're talking about like a way ancient time, maybe the first few beings in the universe, or something like okay, so I'm gonna take this to the Marvel place for a second. So Galactus is a being from a universe before ours. So there's a big bang, the previous universe is destroyed, but somehow Galactus survives and he gets brought into our universe. But this is why he's always hungry, and why he's like this thing that's always trying to balance, because that's wrong. Like, it's not natural. And so like all of the like devastation and everything from his old galaxy is sort of imprinted upon his new form. And because he's unnatural within our universe, he goes around eating planets, destroying planets, and he's has caused a lot of chaos. And so when it comes to the Wills, they could be Jedi and Sith. I wouldn't even call them that. They would be like ancient versions of those two orders. And the only way I could see that working would be from like a long time ago, within the canonical universe of Star Wars. And I don't remember the other parts of your question. Is Luke Skywalker the prime Jedi? Possibly. Doubt it. Didn't seem to be that way in The Last Jedi. AT chat. Do you think that Snoke set up Luke to see what he saw in Ben's mind? We have only seen Ben, Luke, Snoke use mind probe. We know Snoke met Luke at some point. Wondering if he set Luke up. So this is not confirmed in canon at all. I appreciate the question, AT. Thank you very much. I have actually been on record saying that, yes, I believe Snoke was manipulating Luke Skywalker in some way. Not that maybe not manipulating the vision, but manipulating his reaction to it. So Luke, says, I thought the thought vanished like a fleeting shadow, right? And so I truly believe that was Snoke. Like, that was Snoke inside Luke's head, that when he saw that vision in the future, it's a possible future, always in motion the future is, and Luke was afraid, right? I mean, like, he's ultimately he is falling from grace in that moment, but I do believe that, like, that Satan, the serpent in the garden, or Snoke, which I think are all, those are synonyms, in my opinion, on the metaphorical side, that Snoke was corrupting him. Now, Luke allows the corruption. Like, ultimately, it's still sin. But, yeah, Snoke was involved. Like, Snoke is involved in that, in my opinion. Lily Rosen. What do you think about Rose napping in the leaked photos? Do you think the leaked photos were intentionally leaked? Oh, that's a tough question. Intentionally leaked? Maybe. I do believe that the studios practice that sort of stuff. And it's possible. I mean, all this stuff is covered by Jason at MakingStarWars.net. He's a better person to ask. I don't know what kind of relationship he has with Lucasfilm. It's possible. It's very possible. Like, maybe that was coordinated. I don't know. Yeah. What do I think about Rose not being in there? It doesn't mean anything. She's just not on that location. Oh, Girls with Sabers. Keystone Comic Con is this coming weekend. It's not. It wasn't this weekend. It's this coming weekend, and I'm super excited for that. Amal Babu, what is your favorite Star Wars character? Kylo Ren. I love me some Kylo Ren. I know a lot of people don't like Kylo Ren. Totally fine. You don't have to. I think he's amazing. He's a complex character. When I saw The Force Awakens and he was talking about being tempted by the light side, I was like, yo, what? I was like, I like this. I like this character. This is cool. And also, it totally helped when he froze that blaster bolt in midair. That was hype. And so I love Kylo Ren. Very excited to see what happens with his character in 9. Ezra Bridger. Ezra Bridger is probably my second favorite character in Star Wars. Love that character. He's a thief. He's incredibly gifted with the Force, but in a unique way. The way he communicates with animals, the way he and Maul, that relationship. Love, love, love some Ezra Bridger, okay? And another one of my favorite characters, by the way, is Thrawn. Grand Admiral Thrawn. Love me some Grand Admiral Thrawn. Like, dude, love Thrawn. I've had the distinct pleasure of sitting down with Timothy Zahn and talking to him about the Thrawn character, talking to him about Star Wars. Timothy Zahn is the salt of the earth, an amazing human being, and love that character that he created. And the next Thrawn book, unless I'm mistaken, is going to be Thrawn and Ezra after Rebels. Hot damn! I'm pretty freaking excited for that. That's going to be cool. Do you think they end the movie with Leia's voice narrating the end of all wars? The galaxy found peace, and the Force was finally balanced. Finally, she said, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Interesting idea. No, I do not think they're going to do that. The conflict needs to continue. Unfortunately, conflict is what drives stories. And I think that, you know, what's funny is like some people are like, oh, that's wrong. No, that's not wrong. It's reflective of life. Life is conflict. There's a lot of, and I'm sure you guys will agree, you face a lot of conflict just trying to be alive. It's a lot of conflict. And how we deal with that conflict is a measure of our character. Our character ends up being who we are. And so, no, I do not think they're going to end the Star Wars. Now, will we get to a place where there's peace and there's balance again? Yeah, but actually, the more I think about it, when you think about Galaxy's Edge is set up where the First Order is still around, and you're on Batuu. Why would the Resistance and good people in the universe need to be on Batuu unless the galaxy is majorly still controlled by the First Order? And so, yo, what's up, Al? Al Schuler in the building, everybody. And so I tend to believe, just based on the context of what's going on in Galaxy's Edge, that we're not going to leave on a positive note of this trilogy, that the First Order is going to maintain control. And then we're going to go back to the place where, like, the Empire was in control and the rebels were sort of, you know, on the ragtag rebels. That's where I think we're going for the next saga and for the future of Star Wars. So, no, I don't think it would be a lovely send-off. You're right, Erica. But I do not believe that that is the way that we are going to go in Episode 9. How do you think the Jedi Temple burning went down? That's a good question. I'd love to see that explored more in canon, by the way. But it's probably something like Kylo went around to the students that he already knew were kind of teetering. And he was probably like, look, guys, like, this just happened. Master Skywalker tried to kill me. I think we were being told lies, you know what I mean? And if Snoke played a role in that, it's like, no, so Snoke was right. Join me. And I think that that's where he takes the handful of students. Now, that handful of students probably went around, killed some people that were in opposition. Most everyone was probably asleep, and they probably burned them alive while they were sleeping. It's kind of where I think that how that went down. I think Kylo Ren should be more dark in Episode 9. I actually agree. But I don't think he will be. Everything that we've seen from like the leaks and everything is that he's not going to be. But one thing that I think could be cool, there's actually a little theory that I have that would be mad interesting, is they say that like Kylo's scars are going to be completely gone. That's a rumor. Maybe true. And so if Kylo's this benevolent ruler, let's go down this road a little bit. So if Kylo is this benevolent ruler, and his face is all healed up, and he looks awesome, and he's got armor, and he looks badass, and like, oh my god, I'm gonna buy all those toys. If that's what's going down, then what if the Star Forge is real, and there's those rumors are to be believed, and that Kylo is disenfranchising, maybe even enslaving, destroying the lives of a whole bunch of people in the unknown regions in order to make the galaxy a better place, but like he has convinced himself that this is good and that he's within the light? What if he's completely fine, and then as Rey explains to him why this is bad, as Rey explains to him the truth, the damage, the dark side that he's ignoring, what if like that scar splits open? We see the Sith eyes. We see all that degradation happen in a very short period of time. That would be hype. So, Girls with Sabers with the $10 super chat. Oh my gosh, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much. Let's answer this question next. Do you think that the Ashla, Bogan, and Bendu could possibly be explained in some way in Episode 9? Maybe. Definitely maybe. As I was speaking to kind of earlier in the video, I really do believe that we need more of an explanation of the Force. We need that canon to be explored a little bit more. So in a sense, like the Ashla and the Bogan just refer to the light and the dark side. Ultimately, until we get until Typhon and those moons are like confirmed in canon, it just simply refers to the light and the dark. The Bendu is the one in the middle. And so, could that be explained in Episode 9? Absolutely. Especially because essentially the Ashla and the Bogan, that's Kylo Ren and Rey. They're the manifestations of the light and the dark. And so in a way, because this whole trilogy is about those two, this whole trilogy is about the light and the dark side, yes, I ultimately believe that the Ashla, the Bogan, and the Bendu, although the Bendu is a little bit more of like a wild card, but I do believe that those beings, those words, what they represent, that will be explored in Episode 9. I think, like, I hope, like, my ultimate fanboy hope is that Rey discovers something within the text. Perhaps she's not as afraid as Master Skywalker was. You know what I mean? Naivete can be a powerful weapon. And in the hero's journey, there's this idea that, the brashness of youth is important to blaze a trail and to gain knowledge. You will stumble and you will make mistakes. You will find that opposition, but it's important. And so in a lot of ways, Rey is that character to me. And in the time gap between 8 and 9, hopefully she has made some kind of a realization about the Force. Ultimately, that realization should be the leverage she uses to redeem Kylo. So it all has to do with Rey. Perhaps Kylo is privy to this as well, because their connection is very strange. So maybe he ultimately gets that information because she gets that information. You know what I mean? Like, so that could be a thing. I think that's perfectly possible. So yes, I think ultimately they will explain the Ashla and the Bogan. Hopefully Luke can explain that a little bit more. And hopefully he can explain what's up with the Skywalkers and how they have fit into that. So yeah, Girls with Sabers, to answer that question, yes, I believe they will be explored in Episode 9. Yo, thanks AT chat. Have a good day, brother. Or sister. If you're a sister. Brother. Cool. Yeah, Girls with Sabers is amazing. You guys should definitely be checking them out. Oh, that's a good question. Hang on, I gotta pause this chat here. I want to answer that. Okay, Matt Haggerty. A lot of discussion about Yoda's Force Ghost having domain over the physical world. I noticed Obi-Wan's Force Ghost appearance, or first ghost appearance, he brushes aside branches. It seems the ability has always been canon. Okay, so that's a fair point. That's a fair point, Matt. In some ways, yeah. So, I mean, Obi-Wan brushes across branches. He sits on a log. There's something to that effect. And I think ultimately we have to ask ourselves, like, what is the Force Ghost exactly? Because you're returning from the cosmic realm, the cosmic force, into the living force. And remember, Qui-Gon cannot do this. Qui-Gon cannot manifest himself in form. He can only speak to people. He speaks to Yoda, he speaks to Obi-Wan, speaks to Anakin in the Clone Wars, and he cannot manifest himself. However, on Mortis, he is able to manifest himself, which is another reason why people believe that Mortis exists within the cosmic force. And so what is happening is, I believe there is the consciousness from the cosmic force is manifesting itself within the living force. And so, yeah, ultimately they are manifest within the living force. But I think that when you look at what happened in The Last Jedi compared to Obi-Wan in the original films, it's like Obi-Wan is manifesting himself to a degree. And remember, he brushes branches, and he does all that on Dagobah. And Dagobah, like, there's a reason that Yoda was there. And a lot of people speculate, and I don't know if this is canon, this was EU, but that there's essentially a dark side Trevor in the Force, or a Tremor rather, or a Trevor, like some dude named Trevor that's there and he's all dark side. That'd be hilarious. But that there's a Vergence in the Force, or like I forget what they call it. There's a name for it, and I'm forgetting. I'm blanking it on it. But anyways, that Yoda was hiding there because there's this big dark side thing, and so this little, or this light side thing could hide there, could be balanced, right? Powerful light, powerful darkness. And so, but either way, there's a lot of Force stuff going on Dagobah, so it could be possible that Obi-Wan was able to do that because it's on Dagobah. Remember, too, Obi-Wan says, if you face Vader, I cannot interfere, right? Now, Luke Skywalker... Okay, so let's go back to Yoda. Yoda is able to do all of that on Ahch-To, which is obviously incredibly strong within the Force, has a big pull to the Force. So that could be an explanation for how Yoda does it. But here's the thing. All of that falls away when you talk about Luke. Luke Force protects himself halfway across the galaxy and manifests objects not only while he is still alive, but on a planet of Crate where there's really that we know of Force Vergence there. Also, he's in the presence of Kylo Ren, in the presence of a dark side user. And so if, like, what Obi-Wan was saying about interfering with Vader has to do with the dark side, then seemingly Luke is not bound by that same rule, but maybe that's because he's alive. And so I do believe that depending on the training, because remember, this is training from a shaman of the wills. That is how that is how Qui-Gon was able to do it. He got training from a shaman of the wills, because Qui-Gon was a gray Jedi, and he went around and he learned stuff. He dabbled in all sorts of stuff that normal Jedi would not do. So that's how he was able to do it. So I think it's fair to say, depending on the training, depending on the midichlorians, depending on the will of the character, that there is going to be a difference in the way that they're able to manifest themselves as a Jedi. Let's see here. Have I heard of the Lords of the Sith podcast? You would like them to cover Reylo, and I think they have interesting thought and provoking points. I have heard of them. I have not checked them out. There's a whole bunch of Star Wars content within the community that I wish I had the time to absorb. Just I'm just kind of busy right now, like preparing for this Comic-Con and doing all this stuff. Like it's been taxing. So after this next weekend, I should have more time, and I will check them out. Paige Roberts, do you want them to bring Luke back or be alive in? I think he made episode 9, or do you think he's for sure dead and we will only see him as a Force ghost? This is a good question. Oh, Lords of the Sith used to be Star Wars Connection. Then yeah, I've definitely checked them out. Oh, it's a break off. Okay, yeah. I definitely checked out Star Wars Connection. They're cool. I like those ladies. Okay, so let's get back to that question. Do I think they're gonna bring Luke back, Paige? So this is weird, right? Like Force ghosts are alive. I don't know how else to explain this. Like they're alive. Like ultimately, the goal of the Sith. This is how it was explained to me. The goal of the Sith is to become immortal and to have power forever. And the ultimate joke on the Sith is that they will never get that by being Sith. The Force Ghost, the true immortality, the immortality that they seek is only available through like benevolence and sacrifice. And so, yeah, will Luke be alive? Yes. But will he be a Force Ghost? Yes. He's going to be a Force Ghost. Like, he's going to be a Force Ghost, and yet he will be alive. So the answer to that question is both. Oh, she did an episode with Vince. Okay, that's cool. I like that Vince. I like that Vince Vendetta. Yeah, Paige Roberts. They are alive. What? Because even Yoda says in Sith, uh, an old friend has mastered the ability to return from the nether realm. Return, right? He returns. So you go and you return. It's like is the consciousness of a being that transforms into the cosmic force, is that being still alive? Yes, but their physical body has died. So it really depends on what you're asking. The physical body is dead. The being, luminous beings are we, not this crude matter, so much more. So that is still alive. That will never die. I think that's the whole idea, right? But the difference is with the Force Ghost is that being has the ability to come back from the cosmic force and exist and interact with things within the living force. The blue outline, the Force Ghost itself, is a conduit through which the consciousness of a Force user is interacting within the physical world. That is their body, so to speak. But it's that luminosity. It's the luminous being. It's not the crude matter. A mall babu. The problem is that he died as Jake Skywalker. Arguably, even if you buy that, it's not true. In those last moments, he was Luke. He was not Jake. Jake was the guy that drank the milk. Sky Darthic. I hope that Anakin will show up as a Force Ghost kind of thing too, but maybe that's just wishful thinking. Well, we've already seen him as a Force Ghost. So possible. I'd love that. I ultimately definitely want Hayden Christensen and Anakin back. I would love for him to be a part of the franchise again and for us to get some conversation between Anakin and Ben, between Luke and Ben, between Anakin, Luke, and Ben. That would be a great conversation. Probably going to go for like 10 or 15 more minutes, guys. Anthony Gayamo with the $10 super chat. Thank you so much, brother. I super appreciate the support. Do you think do you think we'll ever see a visual media project that truly delves into why people fought for the Empire? Star Wars Battlefront 2 promised that but didn't fully deliver, in my opinion. Interesting. That's an incredibly interesting question. If you are looking for that, please read Lost Stars. Lost Stars by Claudia Gray does the best job of anything that I've seen within the new canon of explaining why people join the Empire. And there are a lot of people, like, there are reasonable reasons why a person, especially considering what planet they were on, would join the Empire. So let me explain something. During the Clone Wars, the Confederacy versus the core worlds, there was a lot of drama there, and there's a lot of bad blood between like core worlds and outer rim worlds. Okay, but Jellican, which is the planet that Sienna Ree and Thane Kyrell are from in Lost Stars, like, you get to see this planet, which already has its own division between first wavers and second wavers, and like poor and rich and industrious and more tribal. You get to see what happens when the Empire comes there. The truth of the matter is, the Empire coming to Jellican did massively improve the lives for a lot of those people. It gave them infrastructure, gave them a way to do trade. Um, there's some aspects to like imperialism and to this idea of having this strong centralized government that can be beneficial. And I think that for some people, the belief in that and the belief that order would reign supreme is the idea that the why they would join the Empire. Have you guys ever seen the movie Hero? It's about United China and the emperor that went around and united China, but he did this through like brutal war against all these different nations within China in order for them to be united. And at the end of that movie, spoilers, some spoilers coming from that movie, the character that was said to assassinate the emperor, he literally decides not to, because after everything he's seen, even though the emperor and that empire was brutal and murdered and did all these terrible things, that a united China was a better outcome for the Chinese people moving forward. And so to take all of the anger and frustration of all the people that lost, all of the things that were terrible within the war, and try to like strike down this guy and undo everything that he had done, was ultimately considered by the protagonist of that film not a good idea. And so I think there's something to that. By the way, the best villains and the best villains are the ones you can relate to and the ones that you can see why people would do it. And so I hope that answers your question. But please go read Lost Stars. Go check that out. I talk about Lost Stars all the time, but that's one thing that it does absolutely brilliantly, is explain the sympathy of the Death Star. Like, there were billions of people that died on Endor. There were at least millions and millions of people that died on the Death Star. Some of them just engineers, some of them pilots, some of them whatever. So Brian Pedicure, why is Urban Acolyte such a tool? Let me just say this. I like Prince. I really do. Let me just tell you, I'll be completely real with you guys about something right now. It's been a very interesting path for me as a YouTuber and as someone on this platform. I can talk about multiple people within the YouTube community that like I had communication with when I was a much smaller YouTuber. That literally that ghost me all the time now. They want nothing to do with me, with the channel. They don't want to collaborate or anything. And like Prince is borderline one of those people. So like I always like to say I like Action Bronson a lot. He's a hip hop artist, if you don't know. And he has this line. No, this microphone did not always have the Den of Nerds written on it. We're growing. We're moving up in the world. But anyways, there's this line he has in one of his songs where he says, "I'm the Magic Johnson of the game. These lames don't want to play with me." And that's the truth. Like, there's a lot of people within the Star Wars community, within the Dragon Ball community, within the Marvel community that I've had communications with, and they act like I don't exist. They act like this channel and this movement does not exist. And I don't know why that is. Like, I would not ever want to like speculate about that because at least not like on a stream because I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. But it's sort of giving me a chip on my shoulder, and we're not going anywhere. You know what I mean? Like we're only going to get bigger. I am committed to just providing a great, great stream of content, so much good content, but ultimately beyond just the content, a brand that really cares about the people that are in this community, that's very open and that wants like I want to do something different. That's why I'm like, we're not journalists. We're not journalists. We're not politicians. We're not influencers. That's not what this is. This is something different. This is just fan-made content for other fans, and ultimately, a place where fans can really like come together. And it's been a rocky road. Like I say some stuff, guys. Like, dude, I posted a thing about the stream, and someone said, oh man, I forget the way they worded it. They're like, "Are you gonna? Oh, so you can just be completely liberal about everything? Screw you," or something like that. And then I'll have people where I talk about Ryan Johnson, and they're like, "Oh, dude, you're flipping. You're joining the haters. I can't stand this." And we lose subscribers. Like I lose subscribers for people that think I'm on the right. I lose subscribers for people that think I'm on the left. Guys, I'm sorry. Like that's the price. That's the price of being real. I don't give a fuck. I really don't care. We're gonna just keep doing our thing, and in my opinion here, like the beauty is when you're not playing that game and you're just speaking about what you think is actually going on, like you you sort of rise above it. And the reasonable people out there that aren't looking to just join sides and get all angry, they're going to flock more and more over here. And that's ultimately that's great. You know what I mean? And so I don't know. Like I said, I'm the Magic Johnson of the game. These lames don't want to play with me. And so Prince is, borderline one of those people. I've done a stream with Prince and Vince. Prince completely ignores me on Twitter. Jason Ward completely ignores me on Twitter now. Didn't used to. It's fine. Like it is fine. Like I'm completely zen about it. I do not blame them. But to your question about like why is Prince that way? Man, I don't know. I don't know. He's so angry. He does seem to be so angry. Like I don't understand that. Like why is he so angry? But a person that claims to say, "Oh, all you haters need to chill out," but then gets super triggered and gets all emotional. You know what I mean? I'll continue to say this. Very few people are walking the Jedi way, walking the Jedi path out there, just in general. I definitely live for this stuff. You're absolutely right, Sky Darthic. That is very true. I have a question up there, just an opinion really, but I wanted to know your thoughts. Well, drop it in again. Drop it in the chat. Nadia, do I think the Force will continue to push Ben and Rey together so that they can find balance together? Yeah, no, I definitely do. I don't know how it's going to end though. I don't think that the idea here, like the Force is like trying to push them together, but I don't think that like they're just going to like come together and be like, you know what? The Force has been pushing us together. We might as well just let it all die and just let's be together. I do not think that that's going to be the case. So yes, but I don't think it's not necessarily relevant to the outcome. Oh, hey, somebody, just because everybody's talking about Raylo, I do want to mention, guys, we have merch. We have official merch. Let me see if I can put this into the chat. We have merch and we have Raylo shirts, and I'm gonna make even more Raylo shirts. This is just the first wave of them, but we've got some pretty cool Raylo shirts. I also did a really cool shirt that says "Douchebaggery is the path to the dark side," which I just thought it was hilarious. And then my favorite shirt, and the shirt that most people say is the best, is the Nerd Defined shirt. And it's one of those shirts that has like the definition of nerd, and it's awesome. That's the link right there. So you guys can see if I can pin that. Can I pin that? No, but I can remove it. Awesome. Thanks, YouTube. So yeah, check that stuff out. The Nerd Defined shirt is so freaking cool. It says on it, nerd. It has a pronunciation, a noun. It says an intellectual badass. See also pop culture shaman. I love that shirt. The douchebaggery is the path to the dark side. That's gonna be hot. I'm gonna be wearing that at Star Wars Celebration for show. And then the Raylo stuff's cool. It says Raylo is the way, yo, and it's got the peace sign. And I did a male shirt, a female casual shirt, and then a female tank top. And if you guys have different ideas for merch or anything you want to see, let me know. Drop some stuff, and yeah, we'll figure it out because it's fun. It's kind of cool. All right, I'm gonna go 10 more minutes. Yeah, Star Wars Celebration, like, fingers crossed here. And I talk about this because we have a relationship. The company now has a relationship with Reed Pop. Reed Pop puts on Star Wars Celebration. Definitely hoping for some big announcements in the next couple of weeks and or months about Star Wars Celebration. I hope to put on a Raylo panel and have all of you Raylo lovers there talk some Raylo, and then we're gonna do a meetup. It would be awesome. I want to meet all of you. I want to just talk about our love of Star Wars. If you guys play some of the Star Wars games that I play, like let's play some like X-Wing or Star Wars Destiny. We'll meet up, go to the bar, just talk about Star Wars. I want to do like a bender. You guys know what a bender is, but like with Star Wars fans and just geeking out about Star Wars. And there's, please, guys, either way, you should go to Star Wars Celebration. It is a fantastic experience as a Star Wars fan. I can't, it's all preemptive. I can't answer any of the questions about Celebration. But trust me, I'll be here, you'll be here, we'll be talking about it. Yeah, so we'll figure it out. Oh, okay, yeah. My opinion on Wayward Jedi. Love Wayward Jedi. Love Wayward Jedi. I continuously try to communicate with him, and he's too busy in. I can call you Sky for short. Cool. He's too busy. He look. I don't know what exactly is going on with him. He's a brilliant content creator. I wish that he was able to focus more on his content creation. He told me YouTube is a low priority for him right now, and he's really not, like, he can't do streams with me, he can't do any content with me. So but I would love, like, here's the thing, let's approach this in a positive way. If you guys want to go find him on Twitter or on YouTube and just give him a nudge and be like, hey, real, because here's the thing, guys, content creation is fucking hard. It is very hard to do this. So I am in a privileged place where I have the ability to do this, I have the time to do this, I have the money to do this. I'm blessed to be able to do this. Maybe it's not the case for everybody. I would go talk to the Wayward Jedi, hit him up on Twitter, hit him up wherever, and just be like, love your content. I really think you should do more of it. Like, you gotta be positive about it. Like, the guy loves doing it. We gotta make him know that we appreciate him doing it, because it is a sacrifice for him. So if we can do that, and then maybe, I can do some content with him when he's a little bit more engaged, totally down. Wayward Jedi is a great dude. Yeah, he doesn't do many videos because of life, and probably because of YouTube. YouTube is whack. All right, guys, we're gonna go like 5 more minutes. Get your last minute questions in. Also, thank you guys for hanging out. You guys are amazing. Why would the Skywalker lightsaber call to Rey? Ultimately, because the Force. Here's the thing. There's a weird. I think we're gonna get more of an explanation about this, and that's why I'm like kind of grateful that JJ is. Yes, I think I'm gonna do the cosmic. I'll do that next. Cosmic living. We'll do that next. But there's this thing where remember how Kylo in the novelization of the Force Awakens and in the movie himself, he's like, "What girl?" And then like in that novelization when they meet in the Force, he's like, "It is you." Well, right now people are speculating that that is because Kylo has been seeing her, that he sort of has had visions of this girl, which will ultimately turn him to the light, this girl that he loves or whatever. So he's having these visions, and he's aware of who she is not through experience but through visions. And so, if that is the case, ultimately, the Skywalker saber could be calling out to Rey because it understands her place in all of this. And as I've said before, the cosmic force is what is pushing both Rey and Ben Solo together. And there's this idea that is important. Like it is important that they come together. So, Josh, do you believe that Rey is a Kenobi? I think it's totally possible. Would love it if that was the case. Now let's talk about cosmic living force because she's been so patient. She's asked me this question several times. Cosmic force, think of it like heaven or nirvana, the other world. It's beyond the physical is the best way. It's metaphysical. Now, the living force is what is created and used by living beings, organic beings. That is the living force. The cosmic force is all of the cosmic stuff. So when Qui-Gon says to Obi-Wan in The Phantom Menace, be mindful of the living force, it is because Obi-Wan is too focused on the future, feelings, premonitions, things that could be, the eventual outcomes of their decisions. But not at the expense of the moment, is what Qui-Gon says. Be mindful of the living force, the interactions that's right here and now. And so that's the explanation, the best explanation I can give between the cosmic force and the living force. It's like heaven, nirvana, angels, beyond the physical, and then like life, everything that's living. So like an organism is born, it has the living force, it interacts with the living force, it dies, that living force goes into the cosmic force, right? But then something else is born, energy from the cosmic force goes into the living force. So like a cycle. You are welcome, my dear. Oh, if Raylo were to happen, what do you want to see the most from Raylo? Okay, I'll fanboy out completely. This will not happen, by the way. But ultimately, I think what I want from Raylo is the idea of. Okay, so there's this line. We're going to talk Rocky. How weird is this? I'm going to talk about Rocky 1. There's this line in Rocky 1 where um, Adrian's brother, who I'm blanking on, he's such a famous character, but he's like, I don't get it. I don't see the attraction between Rocky and Adrian. And Rocky says, we fill gaps. We fill gaps. Like, I have flaws. She has flaws. Her flaws get filled in by some of my strengths. Some of my flaws get filled in by her strengths. That's what a relationship should ultimately be, like filling gaps. And so, what I ultimately want from Raylo is this idea that like Kylo does not have to necessarily change. He does not necessarily have to become light side. He can still be dark. He can still be the Prince of Darkness, but do the right things and be balanced out by Rey. I think a lot about Marjorie in Game of Thrones and Joffrey, and how like Joffrey was horrible and just the worst. And Ben's not that, but the idea was that Marjorie was a voice for the people and sort of curbed his behavior. And so ultimately, that is what I would want from Raylo, is like for them to come together and have their individual identity, but their identity together be like really, really powerful. And I'd want them to like either rule over the Jedi Order or like the galaxy. So the idea and the message being that it's like totally natural. Everybody has weaknesses. The male female dynamic can totally work. And as an example of what a good relationship is and how that could be useful to both parties. That's what I would want. Yes, I can send the link to the merch again. Okay. Last question here. Isabella, do you think that there's a chance Rey is a Kenobi or Palpatine? That would be perfect. What are your thoughts on that? Love your show. I think it's completely possible, and I've spoken to this before on different streams and different videos. Um, it is completely possible that she's a Palpatine. It's completely possible that she's a Kenobi. Kylo probably thinks what he's seeing is true, but it's also possible he's lying to her, trying to manipulate her. That's sort of the Sith way. And so yeah, it's very possible. I love both scenarios. Number one, because I think we're going to get a parallel to the fight on Mustafar between Anakin and Obi-Wan. I truly believe that Rey and Kylo will have a very similar fight in Episode 9. And it would be cool if, like, you got the granddaughter of Vader, or grandson of Vader, and you got the granddaughter of Obi-Wan. It's perfect. That would be freaking perfect. Um, so, yeah, I think it's totally possible. Now, the Palpatine thing interests me the most because I would love for Imperial sympathizers in the First Order to all of a sudden be like, no, Rey should be leading us. She's the granddaughter of she's the granddaughter of Palpatine. And I do not think they would do this, but oh man, if Rey turned and started to rule the galaxy, love it. Love it. Volume is too low, just like 2 weeks ago. Some people said it's completely fine. So, I apologize about that. The stream's about to end, actually, so I'm sorry if you're just getting in here. Yeah, it would be perfect. But, either way, the way that they go with it will be the way that they go for it. I think that I'm so excited for Episode 9. I'm so excited. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how that all plays out. And then I'm really hoping, ultimately, that they set us up for something that we can really speculate about and get excited about in the future as well. That is really what it should be about. Amal Babu, Rey is not a Solo or a Skywalker. Multiple cast members, multiple people from Lucasfilm have denied this. It's not a thing. She is not a Solo or a Skywalker. All right, one last question, and then we out. One last question, and then we out. Just broke my mug. That sucks. Yeah. Yep, that just happened. I should have ended the stream. I actually don't get the mugs for free. Actually, I I pay full retail for everything. Now, technically, I get part of that back, but yeah. Ella, that's a tough question. I cannot answer that question. My favorites and least favorites. I mean, I'll say Attack of the Clones is way down for me. But Elsa, I'm sorry, I cannot adjust the volume because it's been this way for the pretty much the whole stream, and I'm about to leave. So stream's about over. I apologize. A lot of people said it was fine. My most favorite Star Wars item that I own. Huh. That's a good question. I like this hoodie a lot. I don't know if you guys can see this. This freaking Star Wars hoodie is dope. Um, I would say honestly, one of my favorite things that I own. So I have the from Sunday, the last like the lanyard and the pass for Star Wars Celebration of last year, and I have a porg, a little mini porg on that, and it hangs from my rear view mirror in my car, and so my porg is like my co-pilot, and that Sunday pass just ultimately always reminds me of the feelings I was having that last day of Star Wars Celebration and how great it was. Just how much it was amazing, how much I love Star Wars. So that's probably my favorite item. It's actually a combo of items, but yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for checking out this stream. Hope everybody's having a happy Star Wars Sunday. If you're watching this on the replay, feel free to drop some comments. I will check the comments later. You guys are amazing. Tons of cool content from the Den of Nerds on the way. So yeah, thank you guys so much. You guys are amazing. I'm gonna get off of this stream, and yeah, bye bye everybody. May the force be with you always.